Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today we've got a Black Library review, or rather we're going to chat about a Black Library book that I've just read. So today we're going to chat about Dark Imperium Plague War, the second novel in the Plague War series, and the revised edition of the book that I have just finished listening to, which is written by Guy Hayley, and the audiobook version is performed by John Banks. So, I've recently been getting back into 40k lore. I've recently read Spear of the Emperor, the one with the Emperor Spears in it, and I've also obviously read the first Dark Imperium novel. And I'm really enjoying rediscovering my love for 40k and my love for 40k lore and all of that as I sort of start to expand my horizons into the game once more. And this was, the next book in the series I wanted to learn. I mean, when I started thinking about, first of all, I read an Aaron Dembski-Bowden novel. Some of his original works were my favourite. Things like Hell's Reach and First Heretic, some of my favourite 40k and 30k novels that I've liked over the years. So that's why I picked up Spear of the Emperor originally, because I really enjoyed that. And Spear of the Emperor was fantastic. I've now started building an entire Emperor Spears army. But that aside, today we're going to talk about Dark Imperium, because I'm like, how do I get more into 40k lore? And I thought, the original box set's called Dark Imperium, so I'm going to read the novel series that talked about that. And so that's what I'm into now. The Dark Imperium series, I've just finished reading the second book of the series, and I really enjoyed it. It's been a really interesting experience for me, someone who's been away since like the end of 7th, start of 8th. I didn't really follow the lore all that much. Psychic Awakening, and all of that sort of stuff. The end of like 7th, I can't, what were those books called? I can't remember what those books called at the end of 7th and the start of 8th were called. Maybe it was Dark Imperium. Who knows? Anyway, if you know, let me know in the comments. But I hadn't really paid much attention to the lore of 40k at that point. I never really paid attention to the lore of the big, creation of the Psychedix Maledictum, and all of that. So I was really interested to get back in and learn about the Imperium, learn about what's happened in the galaxy of 40k, and start getting up to date with 40k lore. So as I said, picked up the series, named off the first starter box, so for 8th edition. And so I read the first one, and listened to the first one. I like listening to audiobooks rather than reading them. I can paint, I can build models, I can do hobby and other things I need to do, or, working around the house, doing dishes, catching the bus to work, into the city. It's nice. But the first one was really good, but I think they definitely upped the level in the second one. I think this is much better than the first one. I've been really enjoying getting a look at Guilliman, the Primarch Reborn, the last loyal son of the Emperor. He's a really interesting character that really made him so much more interesting than he was in 30k that we've read about obviously before. I've read a decent way up in the Horus Heresy series. I think I stopped that when it got to the Damnation of Pythos. Was when I stopped the Heresy. So I'd read all like the stuff involving like the Ultramar and all of that. But I really enjoy his character. So anyway, spoilers ahead. If you haven't figured out already, we're going to be talking about that book. So spoilers ahead. I will tell stuff from the book. But we start off this book, it sort of starts with Typhus taking over a space station. You've got all this stuff happening on Ajax and the corruption of all the garden and all of that. And Ajax is like this plague planet. They're going to turn into Pastiliax, is like the plague. Mortarion and Kugath, the plague father, the greatest of great unclean ones. Who was once a Nurgling. I love Kugath's story about how he came into being. And so we start off with that, and we start seeing that like Mortarion has this big plan with these giant clocks that are sort of like these big bloated fly clocks, demon clocks that are enabling the demons to sort of materialize properly within the worlds of Ultramar. And we sort of start to see this series, and we get to see a little bit more of Guilliman and his militant apostolic Matthew, and we learn a little bit about like this war on a planet, another planet that he's fighting on as well, called Parmenio. And Parmenio is sort of where the main part of our story takes. Now, at the start of this as well, the unnumbered sons eventually get broken up. They will get handed out to all their jobs and start working as these different parts. And we learn that different members of like the Primaris get sent all around the galaxy. And one of them, Felix, that we've read about, actually becomes one of the Tetrarchs, one of the sort of main people in Ultramar. And Guilliman actually is a major part of this, sort of resetting Ultramar to be what it was, and he sort of just takes control as Mortarian's ravaging his world. And I really enjoyed like this whole like he's just like, nah, this isn't working, I don't like it, it's going back to how it was, how I had it before I came back, it's going back that way, and there's nothing you can say to stop me doing this. So he just simply just cancels out all these things and just makes it back to how it was, how he used to have it, how it used to work. And he makes these Tetrarchs, which are like sort of space marines in, I guess, command of certain areas of Ultramar, because Ultramar is this massive sort of sector with 500 worlds of Ultramar. And so one of them is a Primaris marine called Felix, and he sort of has all these different Tetrarchs. Egmont is another one, the first captain, and there's other ones as well, all throughout the ranks. But eventually it all sort of comes to a head on Parmenia, where we start to see and we start to find all like our little background characters, and the whole sort of story, I guess, at its head is really trying to show that the Militant Apostolic Matthew, I think, is just a really cool name for like the character. He's just so simple a named character. It really sort of gives you the idea of who this guy is. He's trying to make Guilliman see that he is a god. He's trying to make Guilliman see that the Emperor is a god. And Guilliman is just so hard-lined against this idea. And that pretty much is the whole thing throughout the whole book. Eventually we get to the point where we get some cool fight scenes. We get on a giant space station, and we get the fights between, or at least the first confrontation we really had, Mortarian and Guilliman. And that sort of ends in its own way. We get cool little snippets here and there around different parts of the battlefield. We get to read a little bit about some Titan wars that are part of there, which is really, really cool. We get to see some sister battle, do some fighting. We get to see some guardsmen. We get to see space marines of different chapters, Nova Marines in particular. It's really cool just reading all these little tidbits and all these tiny little stories that all tie in well and tell this whole sort of story of the war in Parmenia. And effectively, Guilliman... Effectively, at the end point, there's this saint that you found throughout the whole book. I guess it's really clear to the reader that it is a saint. It's not a psyker. They sort of try and portray this as not a psyker, but I guess that's the thing of where do you fall? Do you fall on the side of the church that the Emperor and Guilliman are gods? Or do you fall on the side of Guilliman where gods aren't real? The Emperor never wanted to be worshipped as a god. This is stupid. And so it's a really interesting sort of dynamic throughout the whole story that you're trying to, I guess, see which side you fall on. And for me, it's like, well, the saint maybe is real. And it seems like at the end, Guilliman is really trying to sort of downplay, no, she was a psyker and all of this. And in the end, he's really angry. But the catch is what happens at the end. And I won't say what happens at the end. But that end bit is just fantastic of finishing up this story. The end sort of scene is really fantastic on what happens, and I can't wait to read the next, or listen to rather, the next story in this series, because I'm really excited to see where we go. And so what I want to talk about anyway is I want to get other people's thoughts on the Dark Imperium series and where I should go next for Warhammer 40k lore and stuff like that after I finish this series. What are some go-to books of like showing me the new 40k setting and stuff like that? I don't want to read old ones. I've got them, and I'll probably go back and talk about them later. But I'd really love to hear and know where to sort of go next with these stories, and what of these particular stories people find interesting, people find have a massive impact. I'll obviously be finishing off this trilogy next, and we'll have a chat about that. But that's it for now. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of this book. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts, where you sort of stand on the side. Is Guilliman a god and the Emperor a god? Or is Guilliman right and there are no gods and gods don't exist, the Emperor doesn't want to be recognised as a god? Where do you fall on the argument? Or are you a Mortarian with like a traitorous father's a hypocrite? Yeah. let us know where you fall on the line, where you go, and where should I go next for looking at some 40k lore after I finish up the Dark Imperium series. Well, that's it for the video. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, if you'd like to, leave us a comment letting us know what you liked about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine little community here, you can do so by following the link in the description of the video to our Discord server and come chat over there with us. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so either by Patreon, YouTube members, or purchasing some merch from our Teespring store, all of which you will find the links for in the description of the video. And we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel via Patreon and YouTube members. So a special shout out to our Patreons: Christian Weir, James, Soren, Chaosborn, AJC, Candy Lowell, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising 8, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Dynet226, Anton Nilsson, and JJ Austrian. And a thank you to our YouTube members as well: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real Zeot, Chris Wallace, Turai12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, Matt Mollum, and the Johnny84. And a special thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and to Xmorphic, who does a fantastic job of doing all the backroom work for our Discord server. Thank you once again for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe again, and stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.